We've got some breaking news right now. Russell Wilson is visiting with the Cleveland Browns on Thursday and then meeting with the Giants on Friday. Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking this down. And my initial reaction to this was, man, Jerry Jeudy probably does not like this news because him and Russ, I don't want to say they didn't get along or anything at Denver, but they definitely did not get the best out of Jeudy with Russ as his quarterback for a few years. But I am a little surprised by this because Russ, personally for me, was never high up on my radar, like my personal wish list. And it never felt like Russ was really too invested with the Browns. It always kind of looked like maybe the Steelers or the Giants. But I think, reading, if you take your phone off the desk, please. I think if Rodgers ends up going to the Steelers, now Russ has to decide between the Giants and the Browns, and so he wants to give himself a few options. That's one way of looking at it. The way I'm going to look at it really quick, and then we'll talk more about Russ, just whether or not this would be a good signing. I wonder if this is plan B for Cleveland. If the Browns were all in on, we're going to wait for Kirk Cousins to be released, and then we're going to sign him. And if they got wind or got word from Atlanta that Kirk Cousins is not getting released, which, listen, I said on the channel just yesterday, I fully believe he will be released. I will eat crow. I'll be wrong. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe the Browns are starting to pivot to a backup plan if they're like, we can't get Kirk. Falcons are not going to cut him, so we got to find another option. Russell Wilson. So let's talk about Russ as a player. Is he washed? Is he good? Last year, missed the opening few weeks of the year with a calf, a hamstring, a soft tissue injury. He played well for a decent stretch for Pittsburgh, but he was a big reason why they ended the year on a 3-4 game losing streak going into the postseason. I also think it's worth noting that the Steelers are more in bed with signing 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers off an Achilles injury not too long ago than bringing back Russell Wilson, who just helped him go to the playoffs. That probably, to me, says a whole lot about what the Steelers think about Russ. And if Pittsburgh doesn't want him, I don't want to say that they are the greatest decision makers in the league, but that's worth considering, going, your rival team would rather go after Aaron Rodgers at his age and the way he's played recently off a team that had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and went nowhere. Maybe we should take word from them or take some advice from them and also do the same and not pursue Russell Wilson. I, for one, don't really want to see Russ come to the Browns. I don't think he's got much left in the tank at all. Don't get me wrong, though. He is definitely better than some other options. There's no question about that. You could do worse than Russ, like Kenny Pickett. But am I going to be super pumped up about Russ? No. For one, if you want to compare him and Kirk Cousins, because both had, injury-ish plagued years a season ago and up and downness with the two, one's going to cost you next to nothing because Kirk Cousins would sign, like Russ did with Pittsburgh, a veteran minimum contract. The other one, I think Russell Wilson can get 2 years, and if Justin Fields got $40 million, maybe Russ could get 2 years, $35-ish million. That's a decent investment right there, right? That's a good chunk of change. Whereas one of my biggest pros for Kirk Cousins for Cleveland was, if it doesn't work, you're out $2 million. With Russ, if it doesn't work, you're going to be out 15 to 20-ish million. And that's a lot of money right there compared to $2 million. So I, for one, don't want to see the Browns sign Russell Wilson. I don't think it's going to work out well. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback anymore. I think as the years continue to go by, he continues to go in the wrong direction, and you are chasing Seahawk Russ, who hasn't been here for, believe it or not, almost 5 years. Got to Denver in 2022, was bad. 2023, not very good. 2024 at the Steelers, solid at best. That's the greatest compliment I can give him, would be solid. We're talking 2020 Russ in Seattle was also not very good. So I don't think this is a great idea, but I can also understand you don't have a lot of great options. So beggars can't be choosers, but if I could be a little picky, I'd prefer not to pick Russell Wilson. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, by the way. We're trying to get to 45,000 subscribers. I do need your help. If you're looking for a free Browns YouTube channel, scroll on down, click that button. We're going to keep you informed and entertained all free agency, draft, summer long, leading into the 2025 season, which is going to be a fun one with Kenny Pickett and maybe Russell Wilson battling for that starting quarterback job. Now, I should have mentioned at the top of the video, the Browns also made a signing. So we're going to break down that signing next up on the show, talk about who this new member of the Browns roster is and why I think he could just be the next starter for Cleveland on their defensive line. But one kind of just final summarized thought for Russell Wilson. He is not my preferred candidate in free agency. You could do worse, but I'd rather the Browns go somewhere else. And I don't expect anything to happen in terms of a signing being made maybe until Monday. He's meeting with Cleveland on Thursday, the Giants on Friday. Could take the weekend to think about it, review both options, and maybe make a Monday signing. That's where my head's at right now. Now, we also have a signing that the Browns made. Remember, they somewhat surprisingly released Dalvin Tomlinson a few days ago as a post-June 1 cut, and they have found a Dalvin Tomlinson replacement in Maliek Collins for a 2-year, $20 million contract. He was recently cut by the San Francisco 49ers as they are slashing and shedding everything on their roster. So let's get to know the former third-round pick by the Cowboys in 2016 out of Nebraska. He started and played every single game last year for the Niners. Before that, he was with the Texans, which is why if you're wondering, why do I know that name? He had a really good run. Let's say, with the Texans, but went to San Francisco last year. 5 sacks, so some good pass rush upside for someone that plays on the interior defensive line. From a player perspective, I don't have much of a beef with Maliek Collins. I'm not going to lie and say I watched all of his tape last year or anything like that, but surface level, I think you're acquiring a good player, right? But the head scratcher is he better than Tomlinson? Because if you're going to move on from Tomlinson, one would think you're doing that to maybe go with a cheaper option. I don't see how 2 years, $20 million is all that much cheaper. Maybe a little bit, but is it really worth the squeeze to save a few million? When I thought Tomlinson played very well last year, I don't think anyone walked out of the 2024 season going, you know what the Browns got to do? They got to cut Dalvin Tomlinson. That guy stinks. The only way I can kind of make sense of cutting Tomlinson just to sign an expensive veteran defensive tackle, basically the same age and a very similar resume, is maybe this is a sign of the Browns are going to switch up with their front four look like a little bit, kind of get into the real X's and O's with Jim Schwartz and go, hey, we're not going to run the same defense, so I need different guys to play different positions for me. And that's maybe the Browns want to phase away from a true nose tackle, which is closer to Tomlinson than it is to Collins. And they're looking for a DT that can get after the quarterback a little bit better. It's not like Mike Hall can play nose tackle. So do they go to the draft and go, hey, we're going to get a new nose tackle in the draft, and we're going to get a better pass rushing DT in Collins? But you had Shelby Harris and you have Mike Hall on your roster. So I'm not going to lie, this one's a little bit of a head scratcher. I don't quite see the vision right now, but I'm willing to believe in Jim Schwartz and Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski that there's a plan in place for these moves, which don't make a ton of sense. You dump one veteran to sign another veteran for similar-ish prices. It does seem a little strange, does it not? So Russell Wilson visiting with the Browns, Maliek Collins signing a 2-year, $20 million contract with Cleveland. As more news comes out, you know we're going to be the first ones to get a video out. So scroll on down, subscribe, like the video, and I'll see everyone next time.